Welcome to the virtual career fair hosted by the Sustainable Community Aid Network, featuring an interview with the owner of Butter and Spice Bakery, Marchelle Mckenzie.
Thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm really happy to have you.
No problem.
Could you start off by introducing yourself and just speaking about your passion in general?
Of course. So my name is Marchelle. I am the owner of Butter and Spice. We are an online bakery specialized in gourmet brownies and baked goods. We deliver them directly to your front door. So what that means is that you are able to place an order anytime before 3 p.m. the day before, and you will get your products delivered to you the next day.
And how did the idea for Butter and Spice come about?
Well, it kind of started, I've been in the industry or food and beverage for about 10 years now. So when the pandemic hit, I was living abroad at the time, came back, couldn't find a job. And so because of that, I decided to start my own business out of necessity almost, because I still, regardless of if I couldn't work, I still needed to make an income, right?
And how does the day-to-day of being the owner of Butter and Spice, how does it look like?
So it varies day to day. So like today is technically my day off, or my day away from the kitchen. And because of that, I usually take a few meetings on Mondays. And I will do have meetings on that day. I will do kind of order my ingredients, answer emails, do any kind of accounting stuff on Mondays, right?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you started Butter and Spice in the middle of the pandemic and everything, which is really, that's amazing that you could do that. So what are some of the challenges that you faced, particularly at the beginning of starting Butter and Spice?
A lot of it in the beginning, it was more about trying to make sure that I'm able to kind of keep up with the demand of the product. Like we weren't getting as many orders in the beginning. It was more about staying consistent. It was more about kind of making sure that I was like doing my best to like post and market the product, right? And even though after that we were still not getting many orders, right? And it wasn't until maybe like Christmas, because we started in September of 2020. It wasn't probably until like Christmas we started seeing like reaping the benefits of our work from like September to December.
Okay. And what do you enjoy the most about owning your own business?
I like the flexibility in my hours. I like that I can go into work whenever I want. I like that there's no one holding me kind of, I don't have to answer to anybody but myself. Even though right now I have my own kind of system, right? I have kind of my own system in running things and what time I want to show up into the kitchen. But I still, at the end of the day, if I show up late, I show up late for myself. It's not necessarily for someone else.
Yeah, I think that's a really good advantage of owning your own business, that flexibility. Because a lot of the other employers that we've spoken with mentioned that a lot, just being flexible and being your own boss and that kind of thing. So that's okay. So what projects are you currently working on in Butter and Spice? Any new products or services? Any new phase of your business?
So we're in the process of rebranding. So that what that means is that we're going to be building a new website. We are updating it with new products. We are making new photography, coming up with a new logo. So that's our whole like rebrand process.
Okay, that sounds really fun. Could I ask the reason for the rebranding?
We didn't, so it's more about budget. So we just have like a bit more space or wiggle room to be able to afford it. Whereas before it was just like my logo was created by someone my brother knew. You know what I mean? So like it's now we're able to move with intention.
That's really good. Okay. What are the qualities that you would say brought you to the point that you're in your life today?
As an entrepreneur?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say I've always been an overachiever. I have always wanted to be my own boss. So you could say I'm very like career driven. So those would be, I would say, the characteristics that kind of brought me to entrepreneurship. I always knew that it was going to be this, right? At no point in my life was I like, okay, I'm going to work for someone for the rest of my life. I always knew that I was going to run my own business, right?
Okay, so you kind of would say that that was just something within you that you've always known, and then of course as well.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, finally, what piece of advice would you give to youth that are looking to be entrepreneurs in the food and catering and baking business?
I would say if you're looking to be a entrepreneur, make sure that you are an expert in your field before opening up a business, right? The last thing you want to be doing is running a business and then also still learning the techniques and still learning the ins and outs of baking a pastry. But I would advise everyone to kind of know the ins and outs of baking pastry before they get into starting a business in baking a pastry.
Mm-hmm. So kind of perfect your skills first and everything.
Exactly, but not necessarily perfect your skills, but also learn a little bit about the business, work in the industry for a little while, right? Like for me, I worked in this industry almost 8 years before I decided to open up my own business, right? So even going in, I knew a lot of how to order products. I knew a lot of how to run a bakery, right? It was just the like more business side that I didn't have, right? So those business skills you can always learn on the job, but learning how to be a baker or learning how to mask a cake and learning how to make these like very fundamental things, you are not going to learn when you're an entrepreneur, right? You will end up having to hire someone to do it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that very insightful advice. And thank you for being on Scan's Virtual Career Fair.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.